And thanks so much for making it all the way. And where are you at the moment?
All the way in Mexico.
Wow.
Um, yeah, just 2 hours out of Mexico City. So it's a beautiful 3 a.m. here on the dot.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us with this crazy time difference.
No, thank you for
Um,
having me.
for everyone who doesn't know, Alice Redmond is the founder of the Alchemy, which is a community-driven platform that encourages women empowerment. She's an embodiment practitioner, a women's empowerment coach, and she offers guidance for those who need through her retreats around the world with yoga, meditation, and women's circles. So I'll let you take it away, Alice.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so wow, it was really beautiful to hear from you and kind of invite me into this space of like recognizing the importance and power of digital and social in like, well, of course the age we're in now, but I guess with like what I'm doing, it was all in the inception of it was because of this time in the pandemic, and I was in New York running a digital social online marketing agency. And then when all of that crumbled, it was kind of like, oh, okay, so I've got to pay rent, and what's next? And yeah, essentially, I'd always been super interested in astrology and human design and like really uncovering people's uniqueness through these really beautiful, powerful ways of like looking at our individual design types. So I started to read astrology, birth charts, and then it sort of evolved. And it was like, I had like a social media identity crisis like 6 months before. So I deleted like all of my social platforms for good. I was like, I'm so done with this. And then that happened. And then so I created this tiny little Instagram account, which had a tiny little amount of followers on it, maybe like 100 or 200 followers. And I started to put out this message via, and this is why I always say, like, we don't need a blue tick to like really expand into
Incredible.
something we're
Yeah.
passionate about. And put out this message to be reading, like people's charts. And it just like from there, it was just like blew up, like word of mouth. And then people were like passing on all this information to other friends and family members. And then from there, sort of like evolved into people wanting to, well, predominantly women. So I am working now, like predominantly with women, have worked with men as well in the past, but creating like a more intimate healing journey and experience. So I always say like it doesn't really matter. The alchemy is super focused on like not being like conditioned to like someone that is like, for example, just starting their spiritual journey and have never done a meditation before, or they might have done like 500 plant medicine ceremonies and are about to reach enlightenment. Like it's very much meeting everyone where they're at. And now that's unfolded into, from this tiny little post on social media has like really, in just a year through digital and social expanded to, like you're saying, I've just been hosting retreats now for women. Here in Mexico, we have the next one in Spain in a couple of months, and it's just been a total blessing, like a total blessing.
Where's the next one you just said? Spain.
Mallorca,
Amazing.
Mallorca,
Super fun.
yeah,
What
super
date is
exciting.
that scheduled for?
That's going to be in April, May of next year. And then in the meantime, we have another one here, like a sort of more localized one here in Mexico in February. So, yes, super, super exciting. It's amazing. I'm really
Yeah.
excited. It's
I'd love
great.
to visit New York. America sounds like such an incredible place. That would be such a good place to host a retreat. How many
Totally.
people do you take for retreats?
Look, like I prefer not to go. I feel like having it as a more intimate group is like is super important and nice. So we just had 12 women at the recent one here in Puerto Escondido in Oaxaca on the Pacific coast. And then the next one will be up to 20 max. So yeah, it's
Super fun. That's really exciting.
super exciting. Feeling super grateful.
And so how do you spread the word about the retreats? Do you solely use social media for it?
Solely social media. There's been no, like I haven't done any paid advertising or anything as of yet. So everything has
Yeah.
been solely
Organic.
Organic social media,
Ah,
yeah. And all the programs that I've been running, because I have like 8 week journeys as well, smaller scale, like a sort of more intimate, like 4 week journeys as well. And all of that has just been running organically, and yeah, like word of mouth. It's like now I sit and reflect on it and speak about it. I'm like, wow, it's actually pretty amazing. I do need to start to get like more of a marketing and strategy like down packed, but yeah, for now
I
it's
love
just been rolling and rolling and rolling. Yeah, yeah,
super
yeah.
cool. Um, do you want to share your social media platform on the chat for anyone that's watching who's interested in the
I would love
retreat?
to. Yeah. There you go.
And there's also your website I can pop on here
Hmm.
for those of you that are interested. So do you want to tell us what platform you're most present on?
Yeah, Instagram has definitely been the one. Um, I mean, yeah, it's Instagram. Yeah, 1000% Instagram. I mean, I'm like low key TikTok obsessed. Like
Oh
just as
yeah.
like, yeah, it's like
Oh.
yeah. No. Obsessed. Like it's like kind of one of my like naughty pastimes of like going into a spiral of TikTok. I think it's just I love the humor element and like just the creativity element. So like, but now I'm like feeling old that I can't like create a TikTok in
No.
like 2 seconds.
No, not at all. In fact, more and more brands are coming onto TikTok and using it as an educational platform or as a marketing platform. It's so much easier to grow an audience on TikTok than it is on Instagram by tenfolds. You get a lot more followers, a lot more rapidly. Um, even accounts that are inspiration accounts on Instagram. So say if you have a passion for horses and you're following an inspirational horse page on Instagram. I'm taking that example in particular because I have a friend who has one and she opened up a TikTok account for it and it just blew up.
No
She
way.
couldn't believe how quickly she was gaining followers through it rather than Instagram or Facebook likes. It's tenfold. The ratio is.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
if you started a an account for your retreats on TikTok, I'm sure that would do really well. Or even just as a guidance or a guide like a
Mm.
if you did something for your channel on TikTok, I'm sure that would do really well as well.
No, totally. It's been one of my intentions and like manifestations purely because I just love the community there. Like, I think that for me, the unfolding of where like Facebook and Instagram has sort of gone, it's easy, I think, to get trapped in like a little bit of like a, not necessarily, I don't want to like label it as a darker place, but there's just so we're so active there and
Yeah,
active with global issue and all this kind of stuff. So to go
yeah,
onto like a platform like TikTok where it's just for me like very positive and affirming content
yeah,
that's there and very
yeah.
creative content, I'm like this is where I want to be. So I'm going to try and I mean, it's like all time right now, but just like learning how to actually just like create these quick, easy TikTok videos. I'm still in my 20s. I should be like on top of this, but apparently not. So no, I totally agree. And actually with, a lot of work that I do as well is, there's also the esoteric side. So, a lot of like cards and oracle and tarot. And I notice like that kind of content as well in terms of like these affirmations and posts
Oh,
and
yeah.
messages are massive.
No, that would do really well, I think, on TikTok, especially since,
Oh,
like you said, TikTok is a bit of a younger audience, and they love. I mean, even that aside, astrology is trending right now, right? Can we all just appreciate that astrology is trending?
huge.
All
Astrology
of the
is
brands
like
are,
astrology has trend, but this is a whole nother
but now
level.
it's a peak. Yeah, I mean, it's been peaking for the
Huge.
last year or so.
It's just not stopping to peak. It's just keep going. But I think that's right. Like everyone at this time is seeking some sort of affirmation or validation in some way. No, it's like there's so much potency for people to respond to something that's like on a soul deeper level. And I
Yeah,
feel like that's a testament as well to like why my work in this space has so rapidly unfolded and expanded without the help of having to even 10,000 social media followers. No, like now I'm like 2,000 or something on Instagram, like still very, 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 very micro.
but
And
a great page. just like a present community that are actually engaging. And that's what I'm for.
Totally. Totally, totally. So now you've given me my idea. It's 3:30 a.m. and I'm going to be off this doing TikTok,
No,
astrology TikTok.
really. TikTok is way easier to grow your presence online, and you're reaching that younger audience. So you're spreading your message directly to the young minds that are open to receiving this message, and you're
Totally.
sort of helping to shape them, to guide them to become like an empowered woman. So I think it's good to reach, yeah, that audience on TikTok for sure. I understand the barrier with, creating content that's slightly different. It's only video based and it's very dynamic. It's a little bit challenging because you have to be creative and things like that. But yeah, look up a few educational platforms that are on TikTok, and that way you can sort of find inspiration there, hopefully.
Oh, I love that. That's going to be my all day for me today. I'm gonna be like, Jenna, I'm addicted now.
Down the rabbit hole you go, and you don't see hours go by.
I know, I know. Oh my gosh, I
Like,
do
wow, that
just.
was 1 hour.
Oh, amazing.
Actually, I have a question. I'm curious to hear about the first thing you mentioned on when you hopped onto the call about human design, I think was the
Mm,
word. And a
mhm.
little bit more about that and what it means. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, wow, I have to look at your charts as well. That will be fun. We'll do that another
Okay.
time. So human design, yeah. So I mean, yeah, what I essentially, like I was saying, the beginning, the first sort of sessions I was running was I've always had this innate interest in astrology, human design, numerology, and these ways that like all of these charts, so these are all sort of different, like let's say like just like different pillars of charts
Yep.
that human design specifically looks at our energy type. So, through the use of our birth date and time, place, date of birth, I would take your details and input them into the astrology chart, the human design chart, numerology, and you'd get like all of this really super beautiful information that's like as per your energy type, for example. So in human design, there's a bunch of different energy types, and then on like a more detailed level you can go like super in depth as to what we call, there's like energy centers in our system that are opened or closed, and basically just like looking at your birth chart, no, like most people would be able to resonate deeply with like what their star sign is. So this is astrology that we'd be looking at, which is easier for me to sort of I guess interpret. Astrology, you have your star sign, but like then you also have like every single other planet that was wherever it was in the world when you were born. You also have the houses. There are 12 houses in astrology. So each planet's going to be in a different house. And these are all around massive themes. Same thing with the human design. Really big themes. Astrology more specific to like themes in terms of uniqueness and personality traits and perhaps karma. And then human design is much more on a level of like what energy is beneficial for you, like what energy should you be surrounding yourself with, how should you be using your energy, how not to exert your energy, are you more introverted or extroverted, are you like here to be like a new age leader, da, da, da. There's so many amazing aspects of these charts. And it's interesting because I mean, I guess like the success of my business has been based on the resonance of, in a big way, of this information. No, like a lot of people have been like very skeptical to come into the space and have like a chart reading. And I love that. I love when people are skeptical and resistant,
Them
because I
wrong.
like start reading the charts and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, it's so beautiful. And I think the big thing for me is not, is not attaching to anything. No, like being able to just be like an open book and kind of go, well, if I'm just open to receiving like whatever is here, like then that's the beautiful part of it. And I just believe that, like we walk in this life having like the uniqueness, like the alchemy is all about no one else has the same fingerprints as you
Right.
do and never will. And that in itself, to me, deserves to be honored and recognized in a deeper way. Like what is our uniqueness? Who are we at our core, like at the center of our being, rather than like what has the world outside of us tried to mold us, or perhaps
Right.
society or our past experiences shape us to be. So honoring that. And then like the other half, the other side of my work is very much rooted in in kind of also like recognizing like, well, what's our journey been like up until now, and how has the impact of trauma, pain, challenges, hardship also had this impact on the way that we're showing up today. And it's kind of like
Very
clearing
interesting.
all of these like labels,
Yeah.
identification with like our past, our trauma, and also like parts of our uniqueness that are just who we are. Like I have so many like Geminis in astrology side like come to me, and it's like, oh, like I'm always so up and down, or like I'm bipolar. I'm like, you're not bipolar, you just have like three Gemini placements in your chart, like it's okay. And then it's this big like aha moment. No, it's like, oh shit, like that's really cool, like to just
Yeah.
recognize that. So yeah, the human design, astrology, numerology, like all these charts, I love to bring all this wisdom, and it is ancient
Yeah.
wisdom, into
Ancestral
like a
wisdom.
modern day approach. Yeah.
Super cool. So do you sort of base your readings on all three? You'll calculate the chart in astrology, you'll look at the human design, you'll look at the numerology, and then you'll make a blend, a sort of mixed melting pot reading from all three.
Totally.
And
I get like a blueprint. I say like it's like the blueprint of your soul. So it's,
that's
yeah,
really
really
interesting. I'm very familiar with astrology. I find it super interesting. Numerology, I've heard of. I mean, it's a lot more mainstream, I feel like, than rather than human design. So I've heard of it, although I don't know the mechanisms of how it works. But human design, I've never actually heard of, and it sounds. What is it based on? Like
You
astrology?
should look. You should look up Jenna Zoe. Jenna Zoe is an amazing, amazing, amazing. You know, human design is like we're talking about astrology. It's like taking its space now. It's becoming super
Okay.
trendy, super popular. So Jenna Zoe, you should look her up. She's amazing, and she does like charts, like really inexpensive. You can like put in your details, and you'll get like your whole chart, and then you can also on her site, she has an app now, like look at all these different like for each different chart aspect, she also has a whole report that you can dive into. She's a great example of someone that is like modernizing in like such a relatable way human design information that has also been like, you know, when you see human design in your chart, first of all, it looks very scientific. Well, it's like your astrology chart. No, it's kind of like, oh, what's that? Like that's too difficult and complex for me to understand at all. So it's really nice to have all of these like, yeah, new age, kind of like this new age wisdom that's coming in and giving light to, like we're talking about, like ancient like, yeah, interpretations and philosophies that have been around for forever. So it's like super super beautiful.
So you mentioned you were most present on Instagram. Um, do you feel like like social media in general has impacted your business? And if so, in what ways?
I mean, I think it's been, yeah, one of the greatest impacts on my business. Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. Like we talk about energy in human design, and just energy in general. Like when you're showing up authentically in these spaces, which is something that when I went through like my social media identity crisis and like got rid of all my platforms years ago when I was in New York, was very much based on the fact I didn't feel like I was showing up authentically. Like,
Yeah.
so that was a no from me as I was stepping into this own sort of spiritual path myself.
Yeah.
So from that, creating this other account was really for me to be able to just be like radically myself. And in doing that, what's unfolded since having this business is just having like, you know, people from all over the world that I've never met. Well, this happens a lot. No, like we build and fortify amazing connections and relations on social media, which is like one of the most, I think, amazing parts of it is the community aspect.
Yeah.
Who will just reach out to me and like, wow, like, I don't know, I just feel called to join your space or to be in this. And I'm like, that's the regular, you know, like most women, well, of course, like this work was began because of COVID. And so most of the women and men I've never met in the physical space. They've all
Right.
been online. I
Yeah.
would say that literally 80% of people who have taken my courses, been in my workshops, came to the retreat, I had never met in real life. So that was all social
Your
media. That was
platform.
all through platform of
Yeah.
Instagram. And really that's all energy connection, like to just speak a message and to just show up in the space in an authentic way. And I know authenticity gets thrown around like a lot now.
But it's
um
important in this space, especially because of, social media sort of almost leaning on to the opposite end of the spectrum with things just being portrayed in a particular light, or putting showing the best version of your life or yourself. So I feel like authenticity is a major topic in this sphere.
Huge, like I think the most important. And I feel like it's so important that we keep showing up for like what that truly means at its core. And I think there's just like a lot of, it's easy to get like sucked into all these rules and, this is how you do it, this is how you do social media, this is the strategy and all this kind of stuff. And for me, it's just been about like when I'm called to, in a consistent way, I do, but like mostly when I'm called to show up and show messages, like that's really when I get this like huge pull. And anytime
Yeah.
I've tried to be inauthentic about it or I've tried to go a different route, it's like super blocked. So it's always just showing me that
Yeah.
like when I'm showing up in full presence and showing up in a way that's like sharing, the deepest parts of myself, which is what this work and this space really is all about, is the vulnerability in that. The response is just continuously having more and more people show up in this space. And like now I'm like looking like into the expansion of the business. So there's like, I'm working with a team at the moment, and an agency in like creating digital products on the back end, so which is really exciting. And that's like the intention of to just like get the space out to like even more people, because it's just, I can keep going on this role, and it's super exciting to know that I haven't been having to go, oh, okay, like I'm going to need to fill spaces. It's just every single course, it's very effortless and intuitive. So now taking the most of and like really diving into continuously learning about the digital sphere, the social sphere, and engaging an amazing team to support me in doing that is really exciting.
Yeah, amazing. So what tip or lesson you've learned along the way that could help others to grow their social media outreach?
Oh, I just totally want to come back to the authenticity piece, like
Yeah.
absolutely the truth speaking piece, because it's been in sharing my story that has definitely been the turning point. Like the more I was vulnerable in the space, like the more that I opened up myself and my story, like the greater the response and outcome ended up being. So yeah, definitely. I think like we can get so easily caught up in the numbers and the likes and like the followers. And I recognize when I started to go back to that, I was like, wait, that's why I deleted all of that stuff before. Like this page was for me to connect with like on a more local level, like you're saying, like a genuine audience.
Yeah.
And I just always come back to, like that blue tick and all those followers don't matter. Like my business is now like far surpassed in terms of financials, like what I was making in my full time. And like it's only been like a year now. So it might like look on the facade thing that it's like, oh, this little Instagram and da da da. But actually like it means nothing. It
Yeah,
means
yeah.
nothing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, to just keep going with your passion and your purpose, when even if you're starting out, I mean, it's just like that's the beauty of it all. And I think it's beautiful because you recognize you're connecting with those like-minded community members around the world that are really showing up for you and interested.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I feel like a smaller audience that's a niche that's fitting with your niche and that's genuinely interested in what you have to share is a lot better than, I feel like it's really unfortunate nowadays. Brands usually pay for followers, and they end up being ghost followers that don't even engage, and just to have a big number there and to have or even pay for likes, and it's become a full industry. It's a business in itself. Buying likes, there's bots for it, there's organized Telegram groups, there's a
Mm.
whole bunch of just for the appearance, and that's a major problem that's recurring in the social media industry. The
Oh,
appearance
like
matters
I feel like
more.
you can see it, no? Like you can pretty much you can
Oh
so
yeah,
effort
yeah,
like you can see, it's pretty obvious.
yeah,
And like when
yeah.
it's obvious, you're like, oh, then you have
You lose
that feeling
credibility.
around that brand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, totally agree. So I have a question about tokenization, if you're familiar with the term.
It's like the TikTok. Wrapping my head around it.
Okay. Well, tokenization, put simply, is sort of the process of creating a token for yourself, for your brand, or for an individual. For in your case, I guess it would be your brand. Which is it named after yourself or
The
uh,
alchemy?
the alchemy? Okay, so in the case of the alchemy, you'd be creating a token for the alchemy, and people would be able to purchase your token, and it's would sort of be compared to a company going public and people being able to purchase shares of the alchemy, except they would just be purchasing the token. Is this something that you've sort of looked into and would be interested in doing?
I mean, this space was something that was definitely unfolding for me when I was living in New York for a couple of years and actually attended a few events that were happening at like some of the clubs. I was a part of the Soho House. And so these conversations were really like starting to emerge for me then. And I mean, this was a couple of years ago and it was um, all very new and like very confronting. Like even a few years ago, it was like, what is all of this that's happening in the
Yeah.
terminology? And now so much more. I've settled so much more into it. I think like the thing that I really honor and admire about myself is like that I want to keep flowing with what's happening in the world, and like be super on top of all of the evolution that we're currently experiencing at rapid pace. So for me, like absolutely, like this is something that I would and am open to and definitely dedicated to, especially in the next like year in in learning about and also in seeing in what ways that this can really have an impact on the alchemy and on my business, and again in being able to be relatable no to like
Yeah.
to those who are more in the like the token space, and maybe like it's like, oh well, then that's like an easier opportunity for them to like get involved in that sort of sphere.
Super cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your journey and your story and your tips. It's been really insightful, really interesting.
No.
I am aware it's 3:30 a.m. where you are. So again, so much for coming on.
No,
Uh,
I so appreciate it. Thank you, darling. It means so much to me. It's so good to see you.
and yeah, I guess we'll let you go back to sleep or on your TikTok.
Or get on the TikTok. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Jenna. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
it. Have a beautiful day. Bye, darling.